In this video, we'll learn about some basic CSS styles and practice using them in our WordPress theme. To follow along with this tutorial, you'll need a WordPress website with the Code Camp starter theme installed. For more information about CSS or the Code Camp starter theme, visit theredsunflower.com and click on Code Camp. In the previous video, we learned how to use HTML to add text, images, and links to our web page. CSS enhances your HTML by adding color, layouts, and style. If we removed all of the CSS, our web page would look like this. Today, we're going to learn how to manipulate our existing styles and add a few of our own. To get started, you'll need to navigate to your website and log in to the WordPress dashboard by adding /wp-admin to the end of your domain name and log in with your credentials. Once you're inside the WordPress dashboard, open your website in a new tab. Then click on the Theme Editor plugin. When the plugin first opens, you'll notice we are automatically in the style.css file. We will be switching back and forth between the style.css file and the index.php file, so you'll want to get in the habit of checking to make sure you are working in the right file. Let's start by looking at our style.css file. You'll notice that we have several sections. The name or ID of each section is noted in orange. As you can see in this code sample, each section of CSS codes corresponds to a section of the website. These sections of the website are named in HTML. We'll take a look at that in a moment. First, we are just going to use our inference skills to guess which sections of the website each section of the code is referring to. If we look at our existing website, every section has a different color. If we go back to our CSS code, we can see that the hashtag header section for our example has a background color of light pink. That matches what we can see on the website. If we change the background color from light pink to orange, we can see those changes reflected on the site. The same holds true for the other sections of the website, like the hashtag content section. If we change the background color from light blue to yellow, we can see those changes reflected on the website. If you've tried making these changes and it is not working the way you expect, make sure that your £, curly brackets, colons, and semicolons are in the right place by comparing your code to other sections of CSS. If you're still having trouble, try posting a comment on a blog post at theredsunflower.com. As I mentioned before, sections of the website are named in the HTML, then referenced in the CSS. If we go look at our HTML in the index.php file, we see that certain divs have IDs assigned to them. This div has an ID of section 1. And this one has an ID of section 2. Let's add a new ID to this HTML. I'm going to add an ID of test to the A tag in section 1. Click Update File, then return to the style.css file. Scroll down to the bottom and start a new line. Type #test curly bracket, then hit enter. We're going to increase the font size of the test ID. So type font-size : 40px semicolon. Hit enter again and put a closing curly bracket. Click Update File, return to your website, and refresh the page. If you did it correctly, you'll see our link in section 1 dramatically increases in size. The next thing we're going to look at is how to space out different elements on your website. Take a look at section 1 and section 2 on the website. Notice that they both take up about half of the page with a little bit of spacing between them. The main ways we adjust layout on a web page is with margin and padding. Imagine that each element on a web page exists in an invisible box. We can see this invisible box if we add a border to the element. We're going to add a border to section 1 by starting a new line within the hashtag section-1 curly brackets and writing border : 5px solid red semicolon. Save the file, then go back to your web page, and you can now see section 1's box. The padding property adds spacing inside the border. Let's add padding to section 1. After saving the file, return to your website and observe the way it has changed section 1. To add spacing outside the border, we need to adjust the margin. The margin controls how close or far away an element is to the other elements on the page. If we increase the margin of section 1 to 10%, you can see that section 1 gets further away from the header, section 2, and the edges of the screen. You'll notice that it also pushes section 2 down below it. Designing with margins requires a bit of math. Your viewport or screen has a width of 100%. An element's width is equal to its set width plus its left margin and its right margin. In this example, the element's width is set to 45% with a margin of 10%. This means that its left margin of 10% plus its set width of 45% plus its right margin of 10% equals the element's total width of 65%. We can see this concept more clearly if we set section 1's width to 100%. When we refresh the page, we can see that now the element extends beyond the screen. Now there is a horizontal scroll bar at the bottom of the page that is needed to see the entire element. That is because this element's total width is 120%. To fix this, let's reduce the margin to 5% and the width to 90%. If we add the left margin of 5% plus the 90% set width plus the 5% right margin, we get a total width of 100%. And when we refresh the page, we see that section 1 now fits appropriately on the page, and we have eliminated the horizontal scroll bar. Working with margins and padding takes some practice. Try adjusting the margin and padding on section 2 on your own. So far, we've just been working with IDs to style elements. Every ID needs to be unique and can only be used once. But sometimes you want to give multiple elements the same style. For this, you need a class. You specify classes in HTML by adding class equals something in quotation marks. We're going to practice by giving the H1 tags in section 1 and section 2 a class of title. Then we're going to return to our CSS file, start a new line, and instead of using the hash symbol, we're going to reference the title class with a period. From there, the syntax is the same. We're going to change the color property on the title class to white, and then take a look at our website. Notice the titles in both section 1 and section 2 have changed to white. There are a ton of styles you can use in CSS. For more CSS styles, check out the documentation at theredsunflower.com. There, you'll find even more styles to experiment with. I hope this was a helpful introduction to CSS. Keep practicing, and if you have questions or need help, try leaving a comment on theredsunflower.com.